So at age 2.5, I sat her down and said, I see you, and I love you, and I'm grateful for you. And I said that to her daily. I mean, we say those things to our kids, but maybe not in those terms, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I just started to say that I use the word I see you almost interversed with I love you,
Mm-hmm.
and they diminished hugely.
Hi there. I'm so glad you found us at the Faith Based Life Coach Mastery podcast, where we deepen your impact through presence, purpose, and skill. Hi there, and welcome today to the Faith Based Life Coach Mastery podcast. And I'm Tara Brown, and I'm here with my friend Teri Walthall. And I'm so excited that we're doing this. We've put it off a few times, which is perfect timing because I love to give people space to figure out exactly what they want to say. And I already feel like I feel that moment of, yeah, like, oh, yeah, this is exactly what I want to say. So I'm excited to have you here. Are you excited
Thank
to be
you.
here?
Yes, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to read your bio really fast and then we'll get going because I have a bunch of questions now that we've been talking for a minute. So here you
Okay.
go.
Great.
So tell me if I said your last name right.
Walthall. Just
Wallfall. Okay.
that's what you said. So
I
yes.
think I think it is, but so I people who've listened to my podcast for a minute know that I'm always asking, am I saying that right? Because my name is tricky to spell, and so I'm always like appreciative when people spell it right. So especially when we
Okay.
have names that aren't just like
Well,
Brown.
I can relate to you with that because Terry, right? Two R's, got all the pencils and the
Yeah. Yeah,
I
I
did
know, huh?
I know. So I hear
People
you.
usually want to spell my name with an A, Tara, and I always
Right.
say, but that says Tara. So anyway,
Right.
we could
Don't you
have a whole
like
debate
that?
about.
I know.
And I think I told you before that my name is Tera because I was named after my dad, who is Terry. So
Oh,
yeah,
yeah. So
there you
he's
go.
double RY, right? Which is what I
He
get.
is, yeah, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
There you go. Okay, so Terry is a professional, I can say that, a professional astrologist, intuitive, and motivational speaker who spent 46 glorious years on a quest to perfection. And I love this. Spoiler alert, it doesn't exist. Before she realized life was passing and she was missing. Wow, I think people can relate to that. So, as the head cheerleader of our own grown-up children and gleeful Grammy to 9 delightful grandkids. Oh, that's so fun. I only have one and it's exciting. Um, and more about love, let's be honest, sometimes about surviving family game night. That's true. With a voracious appetite for learning and reading, she is a proud garden enthusiast who finds joy in nurturing plants as much as people. And when she's not pruning her petunias or belting out tunes, you can find her pondering deep thoughts like, how is pure love possible? Or maybe, did I leave the oven on? Inspired by Einstein's sage advice, the most important thing each person has to do is decide whether they live in a friendly or a hostile universe. She aims to teach a lighthearted approach to life's mysteries. I love that. Yeah, and that universe is right here, isn't it, Terry?
Yes,
Yeah.
100%.
Okay, awesome. Originally from the sun-soaked streets of Bakersfield, California, currently she calls Houston home. As a 1-3 human design, she embodies the dynamic energy of Virgo, Libra, and Scorpio, making her a force of nature who believes that love really is a universal language and that we are never truly alone in this cosmic dance. She loves to guide her clients, friends, and family on a journey that blends astrological wisdom with a pinch of humor as she helps them navigate the starlit paths of self acceptance and cosmic alignment, reminding them that perfection is overrated, but authenticity is always in vogue. So I'm really glad that you're here today. And I'm so excited to dig in. And my first question is what started you on this process of astrology and figuring that out, especially because I know that you're a faith-based person. And sometimes a lot of people have a story that those two things can't go together.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, that is something I had to overcome. So I guess what started me on that journey is the color code 25 or 30 years ago. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the
Hmm.
red, blue, yellow, green,
Yeah.
or white, right? But I've always loved what make people tick. So starting from that, I've taken every personality test known to mankind, and I've taken them so often that I now can cheat them. So when I first learned about astrology, I thought like everybody else thought, like we're taking it out of God's hands, we're trying to predict the future and all that. But it turns out there's information in the stars that is not predictive, it's informational. It's helping us understand ourselves better. And so I do not predictive astrology. Don't call me if you want to ask me when to get married. That's not my jam, but I help you understand. So it helped me understand. The first time I had my chart read, it was also with a faith-based person. So we call it faith, light astrology. And
Hmm.
she helped me understand a wounding that I thought was just something was wrong with me. But there's a placement in astrology called Chiron, and that's an asteroid, and it can help you understand a wounding that you've always had. So, for example, my placement of Chiron says I don't fit in anywhere.
Mm.
And I thought I didn't fit anywhere because I was too bizarre, because I was unlovable, all those things that we think when we're younger and growing up, right? And
Or
so
older.
well, there you go, if we haven't done the work through it, yes.
Right.
So coming to understand that that was the thing I needed to overcome instead of the thing I created in my life was just enormous. Looking back on my life experiences, right? And the people that rejected me or the perceived rejections, right? Because
Right.
all of those are perception,
Right.
just empowered me to understand they were showing me something I could overcome. And it
Oh,
happened to be that I overcame that at a retreat with other light-filled, beautiful people that I felt so connected to that I previously would not have accepted their connection. I would have thought they were out to get me or after something from me or something like that, right? So
mhm.
just the timing of that was beautiful. And so that's what opened my heart to like, maybe there's some truth there to be found. And so then I learned more and more about myself. And you can't cheat an astrological reading. Like the stars are the stars, right? And so you still have all kinds of choices, all kinds of agency, of course. Agency comes into play. But that's why astrology sings to my heart, is because it's informational. I've been trying to understand why I do what I do, much less the people around me.
Mhm.
So it helps
So
clarify.
when you meet someone to ask them if they know what their chart
Almost, I
says.
mean, not right off, right? I
Yeah.
don't start like, hey, baby, what's your sign? That's not that's not my go-to.
Uh-huh.
But it does come up, we went out to dinner with new friends, and halfway through dinner, I said, when's your birthday? Because I was thinking I wanted to put on my calendar to give her a gift, right? And my husband goes, oh, don't tell her. She's gonna wanna
Oh,
I'm
shoot.
gonna go. So it does come up because I just think it's fun, right? But I'm
Yeah.
not for judgment and that kind of thing. Yeah.
Right, yeah. And I find that too, like sometimes my students, when they start to learn about the birth order and how, like I'm the oldest and I married the
Right.
youngest. And anyway, it's
Right.
just so funny that when you learn something, then it's like that's the lens that you see a lot of things through, right?
I
And
know,
it's so
right? Yeah.
informational. But I could see how you would be like, I want to be friends with you, but I need to see your chart first because I need to know if we go together or not.
A little bit, right? But also
Yeah.
like, yeah. I'm a number two, by the way. So if you want to
That's
go
funny.
birth order, I'll go.
That's funny. Yeah. Well, I'll still be the boss then, right?
I'm thankful to my older sister who went through what she went through so I could learn from it. She
Exactly,
wasn't always grateful for
exactly.
that, but
And
I am. Yes.
my sweet sister that's number two is like, I don't want to be anything like her, so that looks like a lot of work. And so I
It's
think I'll go the
hard.
opposite direction.
I'll do this one. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so you said that you would love to give some tips for people. So I guess I want to start with, because you said you started talking about the big three. So let's talk for a minute about the big three and then the Chiron.
Okay. So in astrology, what I have known my whole life is that I am Virgo. My sun was in Virgo the moment I was born, is how we say that.
Okay.
And most people who don't understand astrology or how it can benefit them only know where their sun is, because that's your birthday, right? Your sun is on your birthday where the sun was. And so everybody knows,
That's my sign.
my birthday is September 4th.
Hmm.
That's common knowledge. But if you don't ever relate to Virgo for me or whatever you are, it may be because you have a stronger planetary placement in other places of your chart.
Hmm.
So the big three that people talk about in astrology are the sun, the moon, and the rising, or the
Okay.
ascendant is what you will hear about. So for me, I have two Virgo, and then a Virgo sun and rising, and Libra moon, and a lot of Scorpio placement, which is why I'm Virgo, Libra, Scorpio all put together.
Okay.
So it didn't make sense for me entirely, but other people were like, your life looks so easy. Well, almost all of my planetary things are in Virgo and Libra, right in the same section of my chart.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas a lot of other people have planets all over their chart, and so they have a lot more choices to make, right?
Hmm.
Mine's kind of I can either be this or this or
Hmm.
this or that, you know? And so
That makes sense because some people who are all over the place feel like, oh, maybe it would be so nice to be all in one spot, right? And then the people who are one spot probably think, wow, wouldn't it be nice to have some choices?
I some choices. I could try, and I did try a bunch of stuff or whatever, right? So
Hmm.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, that's what
Hmm.
helpful about that.
Okay. So, so how does that, you said, because you said it's information. So now that I might have this information, what will that help me to get?
Um, it helped me understand that I am different than other people, and
Okay.
they are different than me by design,
Hmm.
not by fault, by design.
Hmm.
And so I don't know if anybody else out there is comparing themselves to the people around them and trying to figure out who they are compared to.
Hmm.
Uh,
No one ever does that, do they?
no, I'm sure I'm the only one. I'm unique. So that's what it clarified for me, right? That was very instructive for me in that way. And so
Okay.
my hope is that they could better understand who they are and that they are the way they need to be.
Hmm.
There isn't a different thing, right?
And when you know that, talk to me about how does that help you to feel more love for yourself?
Oh, when I know that, then I am my authority. Somebody else can offer me an opinion about the way I look, sound, do a thing, accomplish a thing, and I don't have to take their word for it. They're not my end authority.
Mhm.
I am
Even
me,
this person who you might think is your expert that you're going to, but then when they start
100% that
talking
you're
from,
paying money to,
yeah.
that the world has voted as a leader or elected as a, yeah.
Hmm. Interesting. Okay,
Mhm.
so it also says in the notes that you can gain insight on how important it is to be aware of your feelings. And people who know me know that that's what I love to talk about. So
Um,
tell me about that.
well, in this journey, it didn't really start with astrology. I was just blessed to be on there. I my first foray into my awareness of my intuitive ability and that I could help others in that way, um, is that all my life, whenever I'm in line or in a place where I'm paused at a grocery store, doctor's office, whatever, I like to start conversations because I like people. They're my favorite thing, and who's doing what and why. And I just very often heard people as they left the conversation say like, why did I say that to you? I don't know why you said that. I don't understand what just happened, but thank you. And sort of. And so I leaned into what I've understood is um, when I felt openness toward a person and curiosity toward a person, that was my instruction that there was going to be a moment that would help either them or me.
Mm,
And when I didn't know how to lean in curiosity or openness, it felt like too much vulnerability, and I felt like maybe I'd be in their way,
mm,
right? And so
mhm,
that feeling became instructive for me to lean into to have a lifting moment in one way or the other. And sometimes we don't all feel it right now, of course, right? So then I started thinking, well, okay, if that feeling means that, then what do my other feelings mean, right? So late in life, I started to figure out the emotions chart and what they could all mean. And then I began to understand that if God is speaking us through the planets and the stars about
mhm,
who we are,
mhm,
our planetaries, our inside must have something, our natural self, which I was always told is an enemy to God, and I am now disavowing that belief system. My natural self is how God communicates me when I'm in alignment. And so the feelings that abide in my body are my communication with my God, either
mhm,
prompting me to inspire or helping me to process, and
mhm,
they're all important
mhm,
and
mhm,
instructive.
mhm. And that's more the nature of you, isn't it?
Yes.
That's the natural, that's your natural self, the more the nature of you and that divine nature that you can tap into. You know, one of my favorite sayings is our feelings are indicators, not dictators. And when we learn how to listen to what they're saying and learn from them instead of, you know, thinking that that means we have to do something or we have to feel this way or we have to show up in this way, then we get, yeah, it gets confusing really fast. The other thing I heard you say was that you are being a perfect mirror for people around you. And that is that's a gift I think that a lot of people don't know how to do. Um, yeah, I've been thinking a lot about that in the last couple of days because I think God is a relational being and he put us here and to have relationships with others so that we can learn more about ourselves.
Yes.
True? Yeah.
Agree.
Cool.
Only to me, God is they.
Yes, thank
Because
you.
he and she go together. And
Yes,
I really do think the world is messing with they so that we will forget that
I
God is
agree.
a multidimensional being.
I
Mhm.
agree. I agree completely. Yeah. It hasn't started to come off my tongue naturally
I
like
know.
that
It's
yet.
tricky. It's tricky. I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I can hear it better than I catch it out of me sometimes too.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
Cool. So I want to hear about you, how you came to feel God's love.
Mm. What a beautiful story I like to share. Thank you so much.
Hmm.
It has to do with they instead of he, honestly.
Okay.
Um, I grew up in a home that was perfect for me, and yet my parents did not have examples of love in front of them, and they did better than their parents by committing to saying what they would do. So doing what they would say, saying what they would do, right? And so there was it was challenging to know if love could be painful, if love needed to be painful in instructive ways and things like that, right? So um and as I was born, I have a sister right above me. My mother was an only child who had 9 kids in 14 and a half years. So that's kind of important to know. She was overwhelmed and busy. And the siblings right in top, right before me and right after me, sandwiched, they're both sort of outgoing and more, and I'm not. My little brother was taller than me the day he stood up. So that was the world so my little 2-year-old self, when the veil closed, I had been given the information that I was too hard. I wasn't breathing on my own when I was born. I was very challenging. And so, because that information was coming to me in the world, and then I no longer saw my creator communicating with me or felt it so abundantly, I thought I was too hard to love, right? So that everyone can think about their version of that. So we all, right? So,
Hmm.
carrying around and looking, I was given my brain the evidence of looking for evidence that I was too hard to love. We kind of do that. We give our brains jobs, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So I went on in my faith-filled life, and I did everything I needed to do, earning love and earning acceptance. And suicide ideation is runs in our family. Let's just say it that way. It is a genetic predisposition that we are now clearing out, and there are things happening that are clearing this out, thank goodness. And awareness is a beautiful thing in the world today. So I apologize if I triggered anybody by just out with the word, but we're calling it what it is right now.
Hmm.
And I was dealing with some of those feelings in this second marriage. I dealt with some of those feelings in the first marriage, but attributed it to the marriage and the brokenness of that situation.
Right.
So when I found myself in a much better situation, but having these same sort of challenges in my head, I was like, okay, you've got to get to the bottom of this. That's
Hmm.
when I looked into energetic work, and I started with EMDR and brain spotting, dealing with trauma, got a coach that believed in me and that I appreciate very much. She's trained me. I do transformation code coaching. That's what I'm certified in. Certifiable in more things than that, but certified in that one. And she challenged me one time, like, I can tell you don't feel loved. You're very loving. You're showing love, but you're not feeling love. You're not letting it into your heart. And so we began a journey of processing. And one afternoon, during one session, she challenged me to figure out where in my body I could feel love, God's love specifically. And would it be the same way I got tingles when I heard good music or I felt the spirit at church? Would it be in the same place? So that was where that journey began. And it took me a few months, but one day I was kneeling down and I was having the same conversation. And I opened the scriptures, and a scripture just spoke to my heart and woke me up and taught me that my divine feminine can be there for me as much as my divine masculine can. And I maybe could even lean a little more into that because I didn't have the earthly masculine. The earthly feminine wasn't as painful in my world. Um, so that was how that opened up for me, was leaning into the divine feminine and masculine coming together and what that could mean differently for my worship and for me. And
Hmm.
so that scripture in that day, and I felt that feeling, and I asked about it, and I continued to ask about it. And that is a feeling that I feel when I am in God's love. And it's in a different place in my body than anywhere else when I'm feeling the spirit at church or anything like that. So,
But now that you know where that is and what it feels like, it's easier to access, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah. Yes, that's gold. I love that so much. Thank you for sharing. And can I ask, how long ago was that experience for you?
4.5 years.
Yeah. And so,
I was right before COVID, actually, so thank goodness.
yeah,
Right. So
right.
I could spend
Hmm.
COVID growing more. Yeah.
Instead of disconnecting like a lot did, huh?
Yeah.
So as you connect to that and do that work, how does that inform the rest of your work?
Oh, just makes everything else possible.
Mm,
It makes failures not failures, right? That it helps me understand that I am loved and supported, period, end, full stop. And then whatever else happens is frosting.
awesome. Okay, so I have a question. So,
Yeah.
um, as a question I ask on one of my retreats at the very end, but it just is
Okay.
coming to me right now. So
Sure.
now that you know what you know and you've experienced what you've experienced, how does that make you different from the before
Um,
Terry till now? Like, how do you show up differently?
judgment,
Mm,
judgment. I was one of the most judgmental creatures there ever was.
mm,
And I didn't even know, right? I didn't know. And I'm not excusing, it's just factual. Judgment free. And it's not free because we're human. We're always gonna, I mean, I don't know. Maybe some people don't actually have to still deal with that to some degree, but it's amazing when you take all the space my brain was using for judgment and now I can use that on something else.
mhm,
That has been, I've gotten feedback from many, many people that have known me all this time, like, what happened? Like, how is it over? How is it better for you? And so hopefully that translates into I'm more loving in the world because I'm definitely more loving in here.
awesome. I love that. Thank you. So, how does that inform your morning routine?
Ah, every morning I don't leave the morning routine until I know I'm 100% connected to love, power, and worth. Those are the three places I check. I use a muscle tester as my intuition. So
Mhm,
anybody who may or may not be familiar with the muscle tester, I'd be happy
mhm,
to talk more about that. If anybody wanted to reach out and have questions about that, just Google muscle tester and you can learn about that. But
mhm,
um, and so when I'm fully connected, and that's where my singing voice comes into, that was one of the things I learned during my shift into loving me instead of thinking I'm a tool or there's something I have to clear out before I can be lovable.
mhm,
The gift of singing is what I was given, or what I brought with me, is how I'm going to say that, to be able to connect back to my God. And so I only used it in the first 40 years of my life when somebody else asked me to share my talent to uplevel others.
mhm.
And then I learned about 8 years ago that I sing to uplift me, to connect me. This is what my gift is for. And if it happens to flow out on others, then cool. That's how we, right? And so I got sidetracked. Where was I headed?
We were talking about your morning routine,
So in
but
my morning, thank
yeah.
you. In my morning routine, because singing isn't always easy, right? Sometimes you don't feel like it in the mornings or whatever. And so singing brings that feeling of love in my body, and when it doesn't, then I know I need to clear something out, right? So how it informs my morning routine is sometimes 15 minutes is just right and sometimes it's not enough. There's not a prescribed amount of time, there's not a prescribed amount of to-dos that are good for me every single morning. There's get to that feeling, get to where you feel that love in your body and you want to sing. Those are the two things that when I am, and if those two things aren't there, I need more time, right? I need a longer meditation that day, or right, there's some journaling that needs to be done or something else. That's how that informs that for me, I guess, is your question.
Yeah, I love that. That's good. And all of that comes with self acceptance, but what's the word like awareness, like I
Yeah.
have to be aware. I have to be tuned in because I could just dial it in, but not if you're looking for that,
Right?
right?
Yes.
Yeah. And it's so easy to get in a routine. Like that's a good word for it, like a routine and just do it because it's what I
Yes.
always do. But
And
when
isn't it
you're,
amazing, right, that I will very often get connected while I'm in session with somebody else, but then
yes.
not for myself at all. Like I'm finished with the appointment and go, well, why do I now? Right? So
Mm-hmm.
just real awareness that me for me
Mm-hmm.
will then overflow.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Mm. So, let's talk about DNA and trapped trauma.
Mm.
How does your work together with that? Because yeah, my listeners know that I love that. It's my
I,
jam.
yeah, I have been led on this beautiful journey. So first of all, I have a beautiful daughter who's number two in my family, And when she was born, I was unconscious after she was born. I lost a lot of blood and I was unconscious for the first 24 hours of her life.
Mm,
Fast forward 2 years, she's got this beautiful strawberry blonde hair, and so she's very light capillaried, and she's having bloody noses everywhere all
mm,
the time.
mhm,
Pillowcases covered in it, right? So I went to
mhm,
doctors and like, you need the sprays and all the things.
mhm,
They told me all the physical things, and she still once a week or so would bleed her whole pillowcase out. So I was like,
mm,
huh. And then somebody gave me Feelings Buried Alive Never Die. And I learned that nosebleeds, the emotional reason for nosebleeds is that you might be feeling overlooked in your life.
mm.
And
That's immediate attention, isn't it?
my little baby girl may have felt overlooked the first 24 hours of her life when her mama was
Mm,
not available for her.
mhm,
So at age 2.5, I sat her down and said, I see you, and I love you, and I'm grateful for you. And I said that to her daily. I mean, we say those things to our kids, but maybe not in those terms, right? So I
mhm,
just started to say that I use the word I see you almost interversed with I love you,
mhm,
and they diminished hugely. So she is
mm,
a redhead, and she still had them about every 6 months or something, but they were smaller.
mm.
And so that was an awareness, right?
Wow. Mhm,
32 years ago. And then after that, I was in counseling one time and I was dealing with this fear of my mother was going to eat me. And that was weird,
It's an
right? How
interesting
I
fear.
feel, right? It just
Mhm,
came up kind of odd.
mhm,
So I
mhm,
talked to the counselor about that day, and she was like, "Why? Okay, that is odd. Leave it with me. Let me see. Let me see." So she
mhm.
must have gone and done some research or something because she came back to the next session and said, "Question: Did anybody eat anybody up your family line? Were there cannibalism in your family line?" And I was like, I don't know."
We haven't talked about that.
So I went home and talked to my parents, and it turns out there was. There was some weird stuff up my mother's family line, where that did need to happen in a survival situation. And
Wow.
so through our DNA, we knew it was possible for a human to eat a human.
Wow.
And so that fear was registering in my body. I
Mm,
had no fear. Nobody's eating me, right? But the
mhm,
moment I became aware that it was them and not me,
mhm,
all of a sudden my mom was fine. That was safety there was fine.
mhm,
So I've just had these little indicators in my life
mm,
that stuff gets buried, it comes out in emotional ways,
mhm,
right? And so
mhm,
this very real fear was not mine.
mhm,
It was somebody else's that I agreed to clear for them
mhm,
because emotions are genetic. I
mhm.
mean, energetic chemical reactions in our bodies. We need
Right.
bodies to process these emotions, right?
Right.
So I didn't have that awareness then, but I knew once I knew about that, it just went away. It was not even a thing for me.
Yeah, it cleared immediately. Yeah. That's so fascinating to me. I love to talk about epigenetics
Yes.
and all of that. It's just so fascinating. But thank you for sharing that. That's a good tale for later. I'll just file that one in my It makes you just think. So, that's one of the things I muscle test often is when I start to feel something. It's one of my first questions. This is mine,
Is
or
this
this is
mine?
someone else, someone's around me, someone who's living, it's so I get to the bottom of that pretty quickly because if it's mine, I'm going to own it. But sometimes I just feel like, oh, that's an interesting one. Where did that come from? Yeah,
Isn't
I
that
don't.
empowering to know it's not all
Mm-hmm,
yours? Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, but my childhood thing
Yes.
is
Yes.
it's my job. It's my job to do
Mm.
all the things for all the people because like I said, I'm the oldest and so it
Yes.
becomes my job. And if I can't do it right, then everything will, everyone will die basically,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
And I have an
Unfortunately.
early memory when I was two, my sister was born, number two,
Mhm.
and my mom said to me, she's yours now to take care of, like she's going to be in your room, and so you need to keep your eye on her. And it was, like 3 o'clock in the morning. I came to her and I said, Mom, I'm just so tired. Do you think that I could go to sleep? Because she's asleep,
Oh,
and would it be all
Tara.
right with you if I
Oh,
if I
yeah.
had some rest too, And that's a very small person to be having that big of a responsibility. And
100%. Yes.
so I often still I catch myself with that. I get to work through it often. It comes up in so many
Yeah.
ways because it's
Right.
spent
Oh,
so
that
many
makes me
years.
wonder. Yeah, it makes me wonder where your Chiron is. Yeah.
We'll look when we're done. How's that? So, tell me, is there anything else that you wanted to share today? Anything else that was really on your heart that you wanted to share before we get into what you might want to offer my
Um,
audience?
just awareness that the universe is working for us. in every aspect, in every aspect. If it doesn't feel okay right now, give it a minute
Mm-hmm.
and maybe lean into what you can do to help that. But it's ongoing process.
Mm-hmm.
Perfection is not attainable here, period, full stop. The archangels and the people helping us, our ancestors, not perfect beings.
Right.
Also,
Right.
full stop.
Right. I love that. That's
Have as much
amazing.
perfection inside of you, right? You are your authority. I am my authority.
Yeah. And you're perfect just the way you are. Yeah.
Just the way you are. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
100%.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. I love it. So you said that you have an offer for the audience, anybody who wants to connect with you.
I do. I love the astrology. I love because it's a personality test, right? And so I would love to connect you with your big three, your sun, your moon, and your rising, that could
Mm-hmm.
help you understand why people react to you the way they do and why you react to people the way you do.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other additional thing that I think is critical to know is your wounding, your Chiron. What in your chart, what lesson are you here to sort of overcome? That could be visible. And because those things were so instructive for me, I would love to offer a 30-minute session. Generally, my astrology sessions are more like an hour and a half because we dive deep into all the depth or whatever. So
Mm-hmm.
the 30 minutes will give you a basic intro to astrology generally and your specific big three and your Chiron. And you can find me if you're on Facebook. I have a Stan Store account. And so it's Stan Store Teri Walthall.
Okay. We'll put
That
the link. Yeah.
link is on Facebook and could be
Mm-hmm.
there. And
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
otherwise, Teri, Teri, my name's on the screen here,
Yeah.
at gmail.com. That's the other way to reach me if you don't. I guess I will put
Yeah.
the link where you
We're
can
going to
get
put the links in the descriptions too.
fantastic.
So yeah, that'll be
See
perfect.
below.
Yeah. Look below. Isn't that handy?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Thank you for enriching me today, enlightening me. And
So welcome.
I love it when I get to touch on things that I love and I'm passionate about with other people too. So thank you very much for sharing your heart and sharing your knowledge and lighting us all up today.
Thank you. I would like to thank you for giving me another chance. As you said, we had come
Mhm.
at this a couple times and I was dealing with some trauma last year, and
Mhm.
I appreciate you giving me the time and space I needed to do that. So
Yeah, you bet. I'm
that's
all
why I
about
can
that.
testify that this will pass.
Yes,
All I
yes,
can.
for sure. Thank you. Okay, we'll see you later. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
I hope you come away with something really great today on the Faith Based Life Coach Mastery podcast. Thanks to my guest, Teri Walthall. And if you want to check out more or other ways to connect with Teri, there's more information in the description below. Thanks for watching. Subscribe so that you can find out when the next one's happening.